Hello, my name is Chris Dorsey, and I'm a student here at Abraham Baldwin Agricultural College. Today I would like to show you a presentation for my Natural Resources Recreation class. My project for this semester was to remove wild taro from the nature study area at the ABAC Nature Study Area. I would like to start by explaining what is wild taro. Wild taro, or Colocasia esculenta, is an invasive plant that is considered an aggressive weed. It forms dense stands that is commonly seen along ditches, rivers, lakes, shores, or any type of waterway. Due to the wild taro's rapid growth, it quickly crowds out native vegetation, which prevents the growth of native and desired species. Wild taro originates in South Asia, and it does look similar to true elephant ears or the arrow arums. Wild taro has leaves that are shaped like arrowheads that can grow up to 2 feet long, and they sit atop stalks or stems that can reach 4 foot tall. It is hard to nail down exactly when wild taro was imported into the United States, but around late 1800s and around 1910, it was first introduced into Florida by the Florida Department of Agriculture. And the reason was because it was a possible substitute for potatoes. And this is because wild taro plants produce a corm or a tuber or a bulb that grows underground. And this corm is edible and is a food staple in other countries such as Africa and India. But here in the U.S., wild taro escaped cultivation, and it now displaces our native shorelines and disrupting the habitat for our native animals and wildlife. And so within the nature study area, the wild taro has outcompeted everything and has taken over the native vegetation along the drainage stream which runs through the nature study area. The purpose of this project is obviously to eradicate the wild taro from the nature study area, and this will allow my stakeholder to follow up with planting of the native grasses and other vegetation along the drainage stream. The stakeholder's goal would be to achieve 100% removal of the wild taro from the nature study area if possible. And here are before pictures once you pass by the road at Lakeside and on ABAC Farm Road, and where the drainage drains from the pond and the cow pasture and flows underneath the road, ABAC Farm Road, into the nature study area. This is what you would see when you look to your left as you pass over. As you can see, it does form very dense, very thick ground cover, and it's so thick it does form a small canopy, and that is about 4 foot tall, everything within there. Once you park in the nature study area and you follow the trail, the leftmost trail alongside the drainage area, and you're looking back towards ABAC Pond or the horse pasture, this is what you would see, and it is very hard to walk through. So any students with measurement and mapping or the quantitative class would have a hard time maneuvering through here. Also another before picture of what the area looked like. Picture of Abraham Baldwin Agricultural College. You see Baldwin Lake in the center bottom with lakeside dorms with the cow pasture and the pond north of that, and the drainage that flows out to the west and down underneath the dirt road into the nature study area. And the area outlined in red is the total area of my treated taro, and it is a rough estimate of about 36,190 square feet of treated wild taro. My methods For this project, it was necessary to employ chemical methods. Manual methods would have been a massive undertaking which would have required many people, and then you would have to pull and remove the species by hand. Chemical method, when spraying and using chemical methods such as a contact non-systemic herbicide like Roundup, it usually will not kill well-established deep-rooted plants, and then multiple applications would be required and you still may not kill the plant. For this project, the stakeholder asked that if I would use a 4-gallon backpack sprayer mixed with a 3% solution of Garlon 4 Ultra. And Garlon 4 Ultra was developed by Dow AgroSciences, and it is a 60.45% of a specialty herbicide which delivers enhanced performance on unwanted vegetation along the roadsides, industrial rights-of-ways, and similar non-agricultural crop sites. And key word is non-agricultural, because you do not want to come back and plant crops in this area afterwards. I know that Garlon 4 Ultra is a basal bark spray, so I had to be very careful not to overspray due to the nature of the chemical. It is a liquid ester formulation for foliar and basal bark applications, meaning that it will penetrate through the bark into the cambium layer of trees to kill trees. And so my main plan, or my original plan, was to walk through the wild taro and to spray all of it, the whole patch at once, and then wait for it to die off, then reassess and make more applications if necessary. So what actually happened was that it took about 4 days to spray the entire wild taro patch. And the reason for this was due to the high temperatures that we were experiencing at this time. And so when I first started, after spraying my first 4 gallons, I was getting to my limit from heat exposure, and so I decided that I would make it over drag this out over several days. So once I was complete, I then waited for the entire, for everything to completely die off, and then I reassessed the area. I did follow up with 2 more treatments on the smaller plants that survived, the initial treatment before my timeline expired. The supplies that I used, I did use a 4-gallon backpack sprayer. I did use Garlon 4 Ultra with a surfactant and with blue dye. This is because the area was so thick that I needed to see what has been sprayed and what hasn't been sprayed. Did wear eye protection, latex gloves, and mask when mixing the chemicals, and also while spraying. I found it very difficult to spray with the goggles on due to the sweat and humidity and fog, but it was a necessary requirement. Also, make sure that I had proper clothing, long pants, long sleeves, and proper boots. In some of the pictures you could see just how tall the vegetation was, and to me it looked like prime habitat for snakes, and I did not want to get snake bit. And also, explaining further on that, because of the canopy, it held a lot of moisture in the ground, and so the ground was real muddy, and if you did not have properly fitting boots, you would lose a boot in the mud. So my results, overall, wildlife, I feel like this project was a success, and during my reassessment, I was able to see signs of wildlife returning to the water's edge. And so it seems the native wildlife is happy about this, and my stakeholder is also very pleased with the results, and that's what matters most. some after photos taken from the same exact location, standing on ABAC Farm Road, looking into the nature study area. As you can tell, it looks very different now. Very successful with the treatment. Whoa, whoa, whoa. And you can now walk around. The ground has dried up a little bit, and you can see the water flowing. On the left, you can see the outline of where the wild taro grew, and I was able to spare all the trees and a lot of the native vegetation. Some more photos of the drainage running through, and in the picture on the left, you can see at the bottom there are some individual plants that remain that survived because of how thick the wild taro patch was. It did not allow a lot of the chemicals to reach the smaller plants growing at the bottom. And so from the nature trail looking back towards the horse pasture, you can see just how much everything has opened up. Some of the issues that I encountered was it was very hot during this project. Temperatures were in the upper 90s, and it was very important to implement a work rest cycle. Also, water breaks were needed because of the high humidity, and there was also almost daily rain showers. So it was very important that I watched the weather forecast so that I knew when thunder showers, when I could expect rain. Because this is important with spraying with chemicals. You want to plan ahead so that way you have enough time to allow for the chemical to dry and soak in to your targeted plant. You don't want rain to come around and wash it off. What remains to be done? Some of the smaller plants that survived the treatment. This is because of how dense the canopy was. It didn't allow the chemical to reach the bottom. As you can see, there are smaller 2 to 4 inch tall plants that are still growing. But overall, the treatment was very effective. And so what remains to be done is, my recommendation is that to have a follow-up project maybe next semester or the following fall to spot spray individual taro plants that survived the treatment, maybe another project next year. Overall, I'm very pleased with my results, and I would like to thank everyone for watching my presentation.